everyone. Welcome to the show. This is going to be, we're having Frankie B. Washington back. Yes, sir. Welcome back.
What's up?
Hi, Frankie. It's so lovely to finally meet you. I was so disappointed I missed you
It's a
last
pleasure
time.
meeting you too, as well. Hey!
Hey! So last time you came to speak to Ingrid, were you just setting up your Zoop?
Yes. We were just going to the stages, I believe, before. It was like maybe a week or so before it was going to start up and stuff.
I'll give a little what
Sure.
we're going to do this episode. We're comparing Kickstarter and Zoop, seeing as in as Lindsey just said, the last time that I had a chance to speak with the two of you, you and your writer, you had decided to try Zoop as crowdfunding for your comic book.
Sure.
So it's going to be very interesting to have you compare the two because you've used both platforms. So
I want to put it in context. Me and Matthew are the co-creators. So we're both co-creators of Kajus and Cowboys, which is a comic book series. We're looking at 12 issues. But we'll see how far as it goes. It really depends on the readers. If we have readers and we have people that are really into it, invested in it, then we'll go further than that. But right now, the mission plan is 12 issues. Now, since we're a team, which is for us in our unique situation, me and Matthew have kind of split up to sort of like our duties on how we handle stuff. Now, unfortunately, Matthew's not here, but Matthew's the one who technically deals with a lot of the more, setting up the crowdfunding and stuff like that. I'm more on the marketing side. I'm the gospel, the preacher, going out there preaching the gospel about our book and stuff like that. My years of working in advertising and stuff like that. I love that. I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people. I like engaging people, and I love finding out about certain things. So that's my strength. His strength is as a writer, but also, he tends to set up stuff. When we do our Kickstarter, like when we did our first Kickstarter in 2021, that was Matthew. Matthew set it up. We talked about certain things, what would be on there, whatever, blah, 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 how it would be set up, that kind of thing beforehand. But then he kind of deals with all that stuff. Okay, this time around. And we did really well, by the way. I want to say, like, we always start our campaigns at around 2,000. But just because I have a pretty, I hate to always say that, like, because I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I have a pretty strong little base of people who dig my stuff for whatever reason. And that's because I've been online. I had another book called Robagata Akamatsu. I built a lot of people up from there. So I have people who know about me, know about my work. So, but then it's always trying to get those new people, those people who don't know who I am and that can come in. I'm sure Matthew has a few people on the other side as well. And so, when we were doing the 2021 Kickstarter, we went in, we said 2,000. Honestly, my mindset was just like, if we can get 2,000, we're fine. And I think that's always been my thing. I said, if 2,000, that's great. People come in. My major thing is getting books into people's hands. And I think I would tell anybody out there, if that's whatever it is, sketch cards, books, whatever it is, if you keep your focus on the product, instead of thinking about how much the money you're getting, I think it'll help a lot. It'll help alleviate a lot of that stressful kind of thing. Focus, because you're focusing on the wrong thing. Yes, the money is important, but also your product is. Talk about that product. Get it out there. That's what I do. When I get into these campaigns, I talk about it. I preach about it. I show the passion about it, because it's real. And that's what people are buying into. They're buying into the fact of, okay, these guys are for real. They're not just, out here trying to do, grift. The book is coming out. I'm working on issue 5 right now, of our series. So it's like, so what happened was when we did the Kickstarter, Matthew had set it up. We went over. We actually was close to 4,000 when it was all said and done. Sweet. And that blew our mind. That was like, oh wow, that was incredible. So we fulfilled the books pretty good. Matthew does the fulfilling. As you were about to say, Ingrid, it sucks. Fulfillment is distribution is not a fun side of that. And my heart goes out to people who are doing this by themselves, because it's almost like, if you look at the big studios, see, I come from that place where I worked with teams. when I worked for a production studio or when I worked in whatever. So I'm used to, well, Frank, you're the illustrator. Then we're going to pass this off to this person and they're going to do this. And you're going to pass it off to this other person, the copyright. And it's an assembly line. So everyone can sort of share in the pressures or whatever of this massive thing so that can eventually succeed. So, but when you're by yourself and you got to create the product, now you got to distribute it. I don't know how anyone does it. Me and Matthew, we separated where I do the production, and if it commissions, in some of our campaigns, I do commissions. So I'm working on that stuff. He deals with that side of the distribution. Does he love it? No. Which is being completely honest. He doesn't like it. So that leads into what happened this year, 2022. Early in the year, Matthew came back and said, Frank, we're going to do another campaign in the summer. Usually that's when we do it around the summertime. And I said, yo, cool. I'm thinking it's going to be Kickstarter. He comes back and he says, Zoop. I said, Zoop? And he said, yeah. He said, there's this new platform where what they do is they'll handle your distribution. And I said, okay. Now, the part of my mind, the rational, the other, I won't say rational, but the more, I would say the side of my mind where in marketing is that you never want to kind of jump from something else too quickly that you already are doing pretty good. It's almost like a slot machine. Let me do it in that term. If you're on the slots and you got a great machine, you stay on that machine as long as you can until it finally says no. And then you go, okay, I'm gonna go to the next machine. Well, that's kind of like how it is. You never want to jump off in anything too quick, until you've done as far as you can on something. And then if maybe you can still even stay on that other thing, but then you say, okay, I'm going to explore some other options. Well, okay, we sat there, we went back and forth. His major point was that he said they do the distribution, which is a pretty strong, valid point.
It's a very strong point.
It's a very strong point. So I sat there and I said, Frank, I mulled it over and I said, Frank, you know what? Business is about gambling. There's always there's a point of like, you got to take the risk.
Yeah.
We all take the risk. That's the whole point of business. It's like, you take that risk, you put it out there, you see what happens. If it doesn't do as well, then you learn from that. And hopefully you got a strong spirit about yourself and you can just say, okay, I'll push for it again, learn from it, and you push from it again. Well, the thing is that I said, I can't knock on something if I don't try it. So that's how I came over to the side of Zoop. I said, okay, I can't knock this. How can I knock it if we haven't tried it?
But
so then,
does Zoop, is it easy for you to bring the people who were following you on Kickstarter over to Zoop?
Well, leading into that, the thing is that when we got over to Zoop, one of the things that I've learned about Zoop is that, first off, the guys doing Zoop are fantastic. They're great. These are my pros on Zoop. Zoop is great if you are well-known, if you have a good, strong name, a well-known person, or have a strong fan base, gangbuster. You're going to do very well on Zoop. You're going to make a lot of money and you're going to sell, your product's going to go gangbuster out. That's what I've seen. If you are somewhat mediocre, not mediocre in your fan base or below that, you're going to struggle. And I felt like we were in that. We were in the mediocre and that below range. If you don't have a strong enough fan base, you're going to have to work 10 times harder to make your fun. Now, they'll work. The good thing about them is that they'll work with you behind the scenes to reach your goal, which they did with us. They actually helped. They actually worked with us and stuff with our goal and stuff. But it felt like it was much more of a struggle than what we had at Kickstarter.
Okay.
Just because, and my reasoning behind that is that Zoop is not a known brand. Kickstarter has brand identity, which is gold. I mean, you can't beat that. It's like brand identity. It's comparing like, Pepsi to a no-name brand of Coca-Cola, of cola. You get an unknown, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm not. But I'm just, that's just my advertising. But anyway, a known brand of cola against an unknown brand of cola. Let's see who rephrase that. All right. So it's like, but that unknown brand of cola could still be great. It still might have a taste about it and might be still good and whatever. And it just needs time to get out there to reach its audience. That's what Zoop is.
It'll be agree that a lot of people on Kickstarter, they are going around looking for things to fund. But with Zoop, I presume the only people that go there are the people who already know you.
If you look on Zoop now, you'll find a lot of people who are pros, like like people that have done comic books and stuff like that, big time, that kind of thing. You'll see their campaigns, the difference where their campaigns are like, you're up there, the numbers are pretty significant. Whereas people who are just starting, like they're not that well known, or not that really well known or whatever, they're like at a, they're definitely struggling. They're definitely struggling. Some of them have funded, but it's definitely a grind. You're gonna have to put a grind into it.
I guess what you would do is if you build your base for whatever it is you have to be creating, build it up like a lot on Kickstarter, then you could conceivably say, well, okay, everyone, for the next one, we're going over to Zoop, and then they would, if it's a strong enough, then they will go all the way over with you, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that if you approach your base in that standpoint and you actually give them a heads up, then possibly yes. Okay. But you would have to be able to. That's something that I would probably do like months ahead of that thing. If you're already on Kickstarter, then months before you even do the Zoop campaign, like say 3 months or whatever, or 6 months possibly ahead of that, then you start preaching the sermon. You begin preaching and be like, hey guys, how you doing? Every time you start talking, you say, hey, yeah, by I just want to let you guys know that eventually, we're going to try this thing called Zoop, and you begin talking.
Which is what you should be doing when you have a Kickstarter.
You should be doing anyway. Yeah, sure. You have to be talking about whatever your campaign is. Zoop was great for that. The only other con to Zoop is that you're dealing with middlemen. So they technically take stuff, like say like you have your drawings or whatever. You don't handle that. You just send them stuff, and then they'll just set it up. And the way they set up their stuff, it's like they have their own template. So they have just a standard template. They'll just pop your stuff in there, and that's it. You have no control over that.
Ooh, that makes me a little worried personally.
That's the other side of it. And I think that's important that people understand is that it's a very standard template. Easy template, but it lacks the sense of control that you have on Kickstarter, and possibly I think Indiegogo too as well. You don't have that, and you also, a major thing for me that that kind of was a hitting point for me was that customer engagement. You don't have that because you're dealing with a middleman. If customers are reaching out to people, they're going to reach to them, and then they'll send you an email. You know what I mean? Because they sent me an email about somebody who was interested in some original artwork and stuff like that. And then it was and for me, I'd rather be able to speak with that person one-on-one. So then if we can negotiate something, we can negotiate something or whatever, or talk about something. But I like that engagement. So those are the cons of going to Zoop. So you're dealing with a middleman.
So if you're a control freak, like many of us are.
Yes.
It would be a bit out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Okay. And the funny part about the whole experience, where again it's like because me and Matthew are a team, so I'm sharing the pie in the face moment. Was that when the campaign ended, Matthew hadn't told me this, but I had contacted the guys and I was like, oh, thanks. I said we ended, we were able to fund, we made some money from it, but I said, well, how you guys handle your distribution? At which point they wrote back to me and said, what are you talking about?
What?
And I said, what? And they said, you have to sign a contract for them to do the distribution beforehand, before you even get the campaign going. And so I'm like, Matthew, what's going on? And then Matthew chimed in, and Matthew did not, for some weird reason, did not talk to them about the distribution, which was our whole point of our discussion. So he's distributing stuff right now. We're doing our own fulfillment.
Oh no!
So he is. Oh, I'm sorry. I did my commissions, mailed them to him, but we technically through the whole experience didn't make the money that we did like when we worked at Kickstarter. We're technically doing what we could have done on Kickstarter, and we most likely could have probably built up got more people and whatever.
God. Well, as you say, this has been a learning experience, and
Matthew, like I said, Matthew's my teammate, and so he got a big splash of the pie or whatever in his face, and it just oozed on me too. But I had to explain to him. I said, Matthew, for me, the tough part for me was that, and I try to tell people, because I come from again the advertising and marketing, you don't get a lot of chances in selling your brand. People are forgiving to a certain point. But there's a point where people are going to look at you and go, it's time to grow up, kid. Yep. And that's a reality. Because think about it. If you sat there and you looked at a famous product on there and they kept doing these little just mistakes, or just little things that were just like, why are they not catching on? It would perturb you. It would perturb you as a customer. You would be like, I don't know if they know what they're doing, that kind of thing. And so
on the subject of customers, I want to ask you, with your marketing experience, I'm always very aware of annoying anybody. If I've got something coming out, I'm like, I don't want to be posting about it every day, so I don't want to get on people
about that.
So how do you go about sort of keeping people in the loop without just constantly shoving it?
The first thing you have to understand is that how many commercials do you see in a day? Think in that term. Think. Just break this. Literally, if you took the time and just sat there, and how many commercials do you see online, on TV, and here on the radio?
Yeah, it's all day.
A continuous amount. Ad agencies are companies pay ad agencies millions of dollars. That's why they're able to hire guys like me and other people, copywriters, to do the work, because it's a $1 million business, billions even, for that company to get their identity, their brand to us, to consumers, constantly. That's why you get mailers in the mail. They're not worrying about whether or not they're if somebody doesn't like it or whatever. They don't have time for that. So the thing is that I would say for you is that what I've learned in trying to market what I do is, first, I'm genuine about what I do. I am passionate. I'm passionate about it. When I talk about it, I always try to think of ways in which to be somewhat colorful, don't turn into a caricature of yourself, but just be like, hey, look, by the way, this is some stuff I'm doing, whatever. If you're illustrating your own stuff, you should be putting up fresh images, new stuff, whatever, a little bit here and there. Engage with people. I just started TikTok this week. I just as another form of just getting the information out there. I'm working on pages right now. I got my phone over the thing, and I'm like, you know what? I can just do a short little video while I'm drawing and put it out there. You have to be strategic. I always tell people in marketing is about strategy, and then about looking at it from a point of view of, you're not annoying. You're not going to be annoying people. You're going to be pulling in new people, because every single day there's someone new who hasn't seen or heard about what you're doing. You have to remember that someone out there has not seen what you've done. There may be a couple of people that have seen it enough, and that's their freedom, their choice is that they can shut it off anytime. But what about the people who haven't seen it? So I say, find ways to just be much more, don't talk about it. Not to the point where I'm not a fan of people who really talk their stuff up to a point where it's like, well, I got the greatest thing ever, or that kind of not, because the honest thing is, how a reader or a viewer will let you know if you got the greatest thing ever. Star Wars, how did Star Wars become the greatest thing ever? Audience, fans. Yeah. It wasn't George Lucas and the rest of the people worked on it could have been like, this is great, this is whatever. But if it had tanked, what do you got? So I've learned it's good to be somewhat humble and just be real. I tell people all the time, just be real about it. If you're passionate about what you're doing,
be honest, there is always someone who's better than you out there. There always is. And there's no shame in understanding that. But also you're offering something that is dear to you. Mm-hmm. So you should be passionate about it. If I'm a chef, if I'm a baker, then I should be passionate about my whatever the pastry I'm doing.
I should not be comparing my pastry to somebody else's.
Well, you shouldn't be saying, "Oh well, my pastry's not really all that good."
No.
Nobody's
Your pastry is good because you believe that it's good, and now you want to show people. Try that pastry out. You just try it. And that's it. And that's as humble as possible. You don't have to get all glammed out. You don't have to get all shouting at the screen and all that nonsense and stuff like that. I just think just be real. Every time I get online, you could go through my any of my stuff. You'll see me talking about artwork. People know me from the fact that I am passionate about artwork. I talk about various artwork, but then I always bring it home back to the projects I'm working on. If you ever look at my stuff, that's how you do it. That's advertising. You talk about the stuff in a broad thing, right? Sketch cards. I'm happy to see so many indie people out there now doing sketch cards. If you look at a lot of indie comic book campaigns, you're seeing sketch cards pop in. You did not see a lot of sketch cards a couple of years ago.
No.
People weren't even talking about it. Then you start seeing a few people popping up. I started having people now looking at the sketch cards. I'm doing it. Other people are doing it. And they're just like, oh my God. Where's this come from? Sketch cards have been around for a very long time, but unfortunately, to some of the marketing of sketch cards, it's only been marketed to a small group within, which has been an unfortunate thing. But now you're starting to see other people who are looking at it, going, "Wow, these are actually pretty cool. They're original artwork."
Yeah. So to bring it back to pastry and all that,
yeah,
you tried the Zoop pastry and you're walking on by, I guess.
I think. Well, the thing is, I just put a poll up on Twitter, and on my Twitter thing, and it's fascinating because I put up Kickstarter, I put up Zoop, and I put up Indiegogo, and then I said other because I think there's another one, crowdfunder or something like that. It's out. But anyway, I put it other just in case anyone could add something to the mixture. And the one that's really kicking butt right now is Indiegogo on the poll.
Interesting.
Which is fascinating. And so I'm asking people to explain. I wrote in the comments, I said, well, please explain why you think Indiegogo is much more better than Kickstarter. So I'm just waiting to see how that comes out. But right at this point, I would say that Kickstarter would be the pathway, but we'll see. We'll see how, because I've heard a lot of great things about Indiegogo as well.
I'm someone who has done 3 Kickstarters now, and of course we all know of several other publishers who've used it like a lot, 30 times, like that. So it definitely is still a way to build your following. So
most definitely.
But it's very interesting to hear about Indiegogo. I had not really considered that.
Well, Indiegogo, some of the pluses, I guess, for Indiegogo is that they you could do in demand. In demand is this, I guess, this feature. I don't know if Kickstarter, I don't think Kickstarter has it, but in demand is like, say if you got a book or whatever your project is, you can, once your the time that you set up for your campaign ends, you can extend it. You can extend beyond that period. So you can, so technically people can go on that. So say if you did 30 days, so you do 30 days, right? And then it ends your campaign. Then you put it in demand for an additional 30 days. So in that in demand period, people who might not even heard about it can come back and be like, oh, wow, okay. And then they can continuously buy into it. So it keeps the machine going.
That happens a lot of people who love it and all that. So that's interesting. You can't do that on Kickstarter. You can keep the project active for people to follow along on new updates and stuff, but you can't keep the project going. So for someone like Lindsey, who has not done one yet, and she's trying to pick and choose and stuff, what kind of suggestions would you have for someone who hasn't done it before? Any of these things?
Oh, I would say go with Kickstarter. Just because it's a strong brand. I like the brand identity. I mean, immediately when you say out there Kickstarter, people know what Kickstarter is. You guys didn't even know too much about Indiegogo. No. So if it's a brand that you're not that sure about, then maybe go with the brand that's more sure. Because at least you'll get people. You'll get people who know it. They'll be like, they might be much more open to buying into it. They'll be like, okay, we trust this brand. We know that if we send our money or whatever, it's not going to get, whatever, snatched up or whatever by, they know it's a viable brand. So I would go with Kickstarter.
What do you think of being quote unquote loyal to one specific platform. Well, even if you're just using Facebook all the time, or if you're just using Instagram all the time, or you're using TikTok all the time, or Kickstarter all the time, and just squeezing those platforms for all you can get it out, instead of going around to all different multiple platforms. What do you think of the difference of that?
Oh, well, I mean, again, I go right back to that whole thing about advertising. Advertising, they go TV, online, radio, everything, on print. When you drive down the highway, what do you see? A big billboard. Think in the terms of advertising agencies. They don't go in one place. They go everywhere. So the thing is that your mindset has to be everywhere I can get my voice out there. I even post stuff on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, yes. Because the whole point of Tumblr, I still got a Tumblr account.
What? Tumblr?
Yeah, Tumblr. And the funny, my whole point in advertising is all about, you put something out there, you don't know whose eyes are seeing it. And you're trying to get eyes on who you are. I myself as an artist am a brand. So Frankie B. Washington is a brand. So by me putting my work on Tumblr and LinkedIn and whatever, I'm getting eyes on me. And then if I start doing other projects, comic books and things like that, then those people see that as well. It just only enhances my brand identity. So you have to think in the terms of brand identity. You can't just think in one like tunnel and be like, okay, well, if I stay on this place like Facebook, then somehow I should just grow on Facebook. No, that's the wrong way of thinking, because you're limiting yourself. The tough part that I see a lot of people today is that there's a lot of emotion in the world today. A lot of it's driven politically, and I see a lot of people making decisions based on emotion when it comes to a lot of stuff. Like, again, I'll go on Indiegogo. A lot of people don't want to go on Indiegogo because they feel that that there's a particular group that might be on Indiegogo and stuff. And so they'll look at it like, if I go in that group, then that says that I'm part of this group or whatever. And so, or the vice versa. There's people who say going on Kickstarter. They've created this whole weird thing inside of their mind. I look at business as business. Clear cut. It's business. This is your business. This isn't about whatever your politics and all that nonsense and stuff. Your politics are your own politics. You should be looking as somebody who's doing a business, and that you're trying to get your product out to whoever is interested in getting that product. If a person doesn't like whatever your viewpoints or whatever, then I'm assuming they're not going to buy it. Buy your stuff anyway. So you can't, when I see people and they're going out there having these engagements with people and they're just shouting at the top of the hill or the mountain about their views on people, I'm like, you're doing the wrong thing. You're scaring off potential customers who are looking at you going, this person doesn't have it together.
Yeah.
The thing is that if you go into any business out there, when you walk in that business, you see somebody that's calm and cool, hopefully, and they're just like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? We'll take your time. If you need some help, I'll help you out. That's what you're seeing. That's what you should be seeing. You should not be seeing somebody shouting at the top of their lungs and in your face and growling at you and stuff like that. It's those little simple things that we all see every single day. But what happens is people, whatever the case, they lose it. And I'm like, that's not smart business. Smart
businesses now doing that, isn't there? They'll say, we don't want to serve you if you think this or that or the other. And
it's silly.
It's not the right way to go about it.
It's silly. It's just silly. It's silly kind of stuff. The way I always stay on point. My major point is I'm an artist. I draw art. I create art. And if you like my art, then there you go. That's why I use the term art flow. Don't come, if you come at me with all the other stuff, you're going to hear somebody saying the same thing. It's almost like when they say the military, you get catch, just say the same thing over. It's like your what's that? Your whatever, your number, whatever. That's my number, art. Art industry. Where you part of? I'm a part of the art industry. That's all you're going to get from me, because that's my message. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about that, though. That's the thing. If you're passionate about art, you should be talking about it. That's what because then people will look at that and they go, okay, I like that. I'm into that. Talk about that. That's how you sell. That's how you sell. You see, because you're selling your passion. but then you're also selling what your product is.
Okay, so that should be on a t-shirt because that's amazing.
Well, but this is what Jess got me.
Oh,
my wife got me.
There you go.
But for my birthday and stuff, I was like, oh, she's like, do you like the letter? She's like, you like the letters? I'm like, honey, I'm fine with it. I'm wearing it. I love it.
Lindsey, as someone who's approaching the publishing stage of your career and all of that, what questions might you have from Frankie, who's tried 2 different places now?
Well, I've quite a lot of instruction about Kickstarter already, but I'd say the thing that's preventing me from launching my project is quite a lot of fear. Because, you know, when you're doing it on your own, I mean, if I had a partner I was doing it with, I could bounce off that person and we'd be in it together and we'd struggle together and, you know, but when you're doing it on your own, I just find it so daunting. And it's like, I want to make sure everything's in place before I launch it. Even though people have said to me, you don't need everything in place.
You're overthinking. Yeah, you're definitely overthinking it. But another thing too is that, so what are you doing? You're trying to put a comic book out?
I'm just wanting to start off with card sets.
Okay.
I randomly commissioned some comics the other day. They're going to arrive on Tuesday, but I've just done that on my own without a crowdfunder thing.
But your end result is that you want to do like a book, like a sketchbook maybe, or?
I just want to do card sets. I absolutely love collectible card sets, and I just love to put them out there and get them funded and see if people like the work that's on them. Pretty much.
Well, I would say that again. For anyone who's trying to do any business out there, I get it. Trust me when I say this. As a person who's more of an extrovert, I do understand those fears. So I do understand where you're coming from. But if you really want to make it, the greatest thing I can tell you is that you have to combat those fears. So the fears are real. I get fear all the time. There's always a fear. Like I got to work on some new comic stuff coming, and I'm like, oh my God, my heart's pounding. But then I immediately look at that fear and I go, I get excited. It's like transforming that into a new kind of energy. So you have the fear energy, and you transform it into the energy of action, where instead of allowing that fear to paralyze you, you use it as a way of motion. So I would say, again, the best thing I always tell anybody out there is put your work out there. Just do it. Don't do it because one of the things that I always see people doing is always asking people a lot of weird questions like, should I be doing this? Don't ask anyone. I'm old school. I'm an old school artist where I believe in the artists of like back in their graffiti. So I grew up in 1970s, 80s with graffiti walls. They weren't asking people about artwork on wall. You just one morning you walk by a building and there's art on it. And no one asked who did it or anything. They just did it. I love the freedom of art in that sense, because then we make of it. Whoever, if you're walking by, you're gonna have some kind of reaction to it. You either go, I hate it or I like it. But that's the fun part of it. If you're starting to ask people, should you be doing something as an artist? And it's kind of like, then you're losing that rebel side of being an artist. Technically, the only time you should be asking somebody, if somebody's really that kind of sense, if it's a client. The client is specific. They're like, hey, they're paying you, and so they got to be like, well, I need you to draw that. So you go, okay, cool, all right. So then, you got to have a communication and whatever. But if it's your own thing, then you have to maintain that rebel side. You got to get out there and do it.
I had a big wall in front of me in terms of putting stuff into print, because I had it in my head. If anything goes into print, it has to be the best thing I've ever done, and blah blah blah. And then it never ended up getting done, and never ended up getting.
I got past that years ago. The whole best thing.
I'm getting there. And now I need to get past the Kickstarter thing.
Every artist out there grapples with what is best and not. I just put stuff out.
The
honestly,
thing is, the first time, maybe just Lindsey, just close your eyes and push go. Just
well, here I will suggest another place that you might be interested in, because they're starting to make some waves. Is Global Comics? Have you heard of them? It's one word, Global, and then comics spelled with COMIX.com.
Oh, right.
So globalcomics.com, because they're making some waves right now. Because I actually was talking to Matthew, because we may be moving over to them, because what they're doing is that they're offering print on demand. So what they do is like they're a platform where for comic books, but I'm assuming for books, comic books mostly, but they may be moving into other things like graphic novels and stuff like that. But technically, they do web stuff.
Hang on.
Oh, hi.
This is Remy.
Hey, Remy, what's going on, man?
I'm just doing a podcast, sweetheart. Can it wait? I won't be long.
I like how snappy he looks. He looks really nice and put together. I like that.
Got back from school.
There you go. Did parochial school? Does he go to parochial school?
No.
I used to do parochial Catholic school.
Parochial schools? I don't know if we have parochial schools in England.
Well, Catholic. Yeah, it was like a Catholic.
Yeah, we have
school.
Catholics. Yeah,
that's it. That's how I used to dress. My little sweater on. Yes, sister. But no, Global Comics is really great because what they're offering is print on demand. So they're offering a platform so you'll be able to load your comic up and you can do print on demand. Excuse me. So that could be a good option.
Have you heard of Indie Comics?
They
do print on demand.
Yeah,
I've heard.
So that might be another option too for you.
Well, the comic that I've just ordered, I've ordered some in hand to sell in the UK, but I thought just to avoid them nasty postage prices, I'll upload it to Indie Comics for the people in the US and Canada, so they can avoid that nasty charge.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Ingrid could tell you. Ingrid tell you, and same thing. Distribution is a nightmare. It's I'm very fortunate that Matthew. He deals with that and stuff. He gets the Gemini mailers. He gets because again, customers can.
It's the cost mostly. It's the price of it, especially with the pandemic and then shipping. And
customers can get finicky on you because I've seen a lot of tweets and stuff where if people don't package it right, the book has a crease in it or a scar, you won't hear the end of it. And that's the thing, you won't hear it, and it'd be a shame if you're just starting out and then you got to deal with stuff like that because you got to make sure the packaging's right.
It has happened for me. It has happened through all.
That happened to me with a commission. I did. Some guy railed on me big time. Canada. He railed on me. I was like, wow. I said, all right, cool. It's good. I learned. I said, okay.
Only one time I got a really verbiage reply about it, but that really wasn't my fault. I think I think a tractor ran over it or something. I don't know what happened.
I mean, you can only do your best, but again, it's those little things too. So if you want to jump into the point, I mean, you're literally going to be jumping into a serious thing if you decide to go like crowdfunding, because that's a huge thing you got to deal with. And then also, what you're putting out. I mean, most crowdfunding campaigns, a lot of people what are going to be your reward tiers? For us, we have sketch cards, which I do the artwork, or now we added sketch covers, blank sketch covers. What are you going to be offering? That's going to be that extra little thing. I mean, you don't have to offer a lot, but you got to offer some few little things in there just to sort of, get the taste buds going and make it special.
To ship.
Yes, and if they can ship, So those are little things you got to think about.
I wish I had a Matthew.
I wish I had one too.
Well, that's the thing. See, a lot of people get on me because I self-published earlier in my life, early in my career, when I was in my 20s. Why don't we just say that? In my 20s, back in the 90s, I did self-publish. And that was, it was a different time back then. No computers. I had to go to shows and stuff like that. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was very tough, but I did the grind and stuff like that. And I learned a lot of stuff from it. And one of the things I learned was that trying to do stuff all by yourself, it's really hard. It can be taxing. Yeah, it can be very taxing. Once I started working in the professional field and working with teams of people, it changed my whole attitude. Where I was like, man, if you just can work with somebody and we're both on the same page, somewhat, then we got something good. They know what they got to do. I know what I have to do. If I'm on the side of creating the product or making sure that the product is done, then in marketing, then that other person can make sure that distribution can happen, and then and that kind of stuff.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. So if there was a partner, if you can find somebody you can partner with and be like, hey, I can do this part of it. And then, because that's how films are, just like studios. You think of big studios, it's a team. A movie is not done by one person. There's a director, there's a writer, director, cinematographer, that whole thing. It's a whole team effort to make this one beautiful thing. Sorry, Ingrid.
You want to be a team, Lindsey?
Ooh.
I'm happy to be a team. I'm a team player. I'm so happy to be in a team.
I would ask Frankie, but I think he already has his team.
There's a strength in numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reality. And I think a lot of artists, unfortunately, they fight. I don't know, because I've seen people I understand artists or writers who want to try to go in it by themselves. I totally understand that. But sometimes it kind of helps if you have that kind of thing where you can work with other people.
You do need to trust the other people, though.
Yeah.
Ingrid, we could combine Long Dog and Leg Day cards to Dog Day cards.
I love it. Perfect.
There you go. Hey, look, if you guys need an artist, something like that, hey, I'll work with you, man.
Okay.
I've worked with various people on campaigns over the years where they brought me in and they said, hey, Frank, can you do some artwork or whatever as a reward tier? I've done that with a couple of campaigns and they've been quite successful. I love working with different people, different artists and stuff like that. I love that. But my major gripe is that I want to make sure that the people I'm working with are in it to win it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just my end thing, is that you got to be in it to win it. I'm looking for people who have a more structured viewpoint of getting things done. I'm not looking to be with people who are like, I can't, my dog, my cat ate my thing. I can't. I'm getting older. I just turned 52. So as I'm getting older, my tolerance level, it's just like I can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
I totally understand you. I just turned 60. Mine is it's going smaller and smaller.
As you get older, the tolerance level, it's just like I want to be with people who are like, look, we're all racing. We're on this race. There's a marathon. And if we're on the marathon, no matter what, we're all going to get across the finish line. It's not about how fast one is running or whatever. It's about no matter what. If one person is walking, as long as you're still walking, you're giving 200% to get over that finish line with everybody else. That's. I
went back to college in my early 30s, just to get that work ethic back, because I spent my whole 20s just messing about and not doing anything and going, why aren't I an artist?
I watch a lot of people out there, and that's one of the things I see is I think that a lot of people, when they do these campaigns and stuff like that, they're approaching the campaign as if it's not a serious thing.
Yeah.
See, to me, asking people for money is a very serious thing. I don't know about anybody else.
That's the most in the beginning.
You're asking people to pay for something, a product that you have. That's very serious. So it kind of, sometimes I'll look at these things and I'll see people in their approach to how they, almost like a kind of laxed kind of viewpoint when it comes to this business. It's like, this is a business transaction.
Yeah.
There's taxes involved. There's a lot of grown-up stuff that's involved with this. And so the thing is that you need to really look at this from a more serious adult view of it. I mean,
you got to take yourself a little bit seriously too.
Yes. And the fun part is creating this stuff. Yeah, that's the kid in me, like creating this stuff and putting it out there and people reading it, and that's the kid part. But then the adult side of it is like, yeah, we got bills to pay. You have shelter.
That those people will spend their hard-earned money on something you've created because they don't for that money.
I always anytime that I've done any campaign I've done, I've always, even if it ended, I've always responded back. I've always text people or like put a text out saying thank people. You don't see people thanking people. Being humble by the fact that somebody took the time to purchase your product, because there's a lot of people out there. Think about that. Someone took the time to purchase your product because they actually dug it.
Yeah.
Don't take that lightly. Do not. Anytime people contact me for anything, for artwork, I don't ever take that lightly. I look at that and I'm like, I'm humbled by that. And I've been in the game for a minute. So I can't walk around with the big like, oh, I'm all this and I'm the greatest thing since sliced cheese and that nonsense. I can't do that because I'm like, there's a lot of what separates me from a great artist. If there's like great like artists that can just draw like insanely can draw, is that I know how to talk to people and I know how to communicate with people.
Absolutely, you are. That is one of your superpowers right there.
So that's, to me, that will always. I remember Todd McFarlane. I don't know if you guys read comic books. Todd McFarlane was Spawn. If you see his there's a few documentaries he's done. And Todd, he's done some messed up stuff, whatever. But I'm telling you, there's some nuggets of wisdom and stuff he said where he was like, he said, when I went to Marvel, he said, I knew that I wasn't the greatest artist, but I had to be an artist who can get the job done. And he said, when he walked in there with that mentality, that's why he succeeded. He said, because there were so many great artists, but the problem was they couldn't crush the deadlines because they were like, so perfect art. I want to make the perfect art. Takes them like 2 years to do one piece of artwork while he's out there running off pages like it's left and right. And he said, I had to get my artwork. Yeah, he said, I had to get my artwork to a point where I can get the job done and can get it out there and get it in front of people to eventually people will look at it and go, I dig that. And that's what he did. He kept drawing and people were like, wow, that's so new. That's so different. When you look at it now, you go, ugh. But when at the time, it was like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. He's new, he's different. And that's how he was able to build
to have things protruding from outside the box, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Before that, it was like, no, stay in the box. And he's like, no, I'm not going to stay in the box. I'm going to have a leg sticking out. And yeah, really cool.
You have to put yourself out there, but also you got to work on other things. It's not just your art. It's almost like the same thing. Like if you ever gone to an art gallery, to an exhibit, and you notice that they have the artist there, and the thing is that people aren't just buying the artwork that's hanging there.
They want the experience.
The experience. They're buying into the artist because the artist is there. Sometimes the artists will be walking around, they may have their art rep, but usually the artist is there if you go to opening and they're just like talking to people and people sit there and they talk to them and go, oh, wow. And they're buying into that whole thing, that whole experience. Because then they go, okay, fine, I'll drop $3,000 for that piece. And it's like, and the artist goes, oh, well, okay, cool. There's a lot more that we as artists or creative people have to do. We don't have the luxury of somebody who's going to step in. I don't have a rep. I don't have, and even if I had a rep, I would still be out here doing this because I wouldn't be able to trust that my rep would be doing, as good as I am. Like I often thought in another life, I said, if I wasn't hardcore in my drawing, my art, I could have been a killer rep. My hustle is so strong because my whole point would be, if I was going to be a rep, I would have a certain stable of artists and that would be it. Like maybe 10 artists. Or whatever.
Hey, you're hired.
Well, that's another life. That's variant Frankie in another dimension. I'm sorry, Ingrid, but the thing about it is that I sat there and I said, if I could, because I did work for a rep agency and unfortunately I don't work with them any longer because what happened was they expanded too big. They started bringing in a lot more artists, and then I became a cog. I became just another little. Just a little clock. My importance level started diminishing, and I was like, I guess I gotta go. Just because again, a true rep will only be able to have a small number. If you have a small stable, then they can work with those artists and then push those artists out there to get them the best gigs, the gigs that can really pay for them and support this whole endeavor and stuff like that. That's a great rep. Really great reps only have smaller stables, in my opinion.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they don't have like that. When you start seeing the massive ones with farms and stuff, where it's like 50 artists, it's like, how are they dealing with 50 artists? How do they show importance for each artist? I mean, really.
That's true.
So that's if you really want to have a rep, then you want a rep who doesn't have a large number of artists, because then that rep can be able to work with you, and then they can be able to, go out there and get you the gigs, or whatever it is that you're doing, get you the stuff that can, enhance that relationship that you guys have.
I'm assuming a rep is just like an agency,
it's like an agent. Yeah, it's like an agent. But the funny part about it was I do that already. That was the funny part, because I was already doing that stuff. When I had my rep agent, they were in New York, And I was getting some gigs in from some big agencies, in New York. But I mean, I was already getting gigs like when I was in Boston and abroad, London and stuff. I mean, it was just, I was getting gigs. I was already doing that for myself. So I was like,
Yeah.
So I think I feel like artists, every artist out there, I get the struggle. I do. But you can learn. You can learn to get out there to talk to people. You don't, fear is.
A lot of artists are introverts.
But they sure are.
Have to, unless you're fortunate enough to have a rep.
Yeah.
But most of us are not. So.
And it's baby steps, but not to the point where it's baby steps where it should take you years. That's I like to add that in there. It should take you just practice very slowly. That the slowest thing is put your artwork out there. Put it just post your artwork, say, hey, this is a piece I just did, story, and that's it. Don't ask people what they think about it. I never ask anybody what they think about my artwork. I just put it out. and then another thing in advertising is you think of good phrases that people can sort of get connected to you. So for me, I started creating things like memory lane. So I post artwork and I'll be like memory lane. And then cool. This artwork I've done in the past, or like art flow. I started saying that, and then it caught on. And I said, okay. And so the people hear it and they go, wow, so I use that as a catchphrase. Strong creativity, strong.
I've been using my nostrils.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Think of stuff. Yeah, there you go. Work it. But
that's become a bit of a joke, that now.
Yeah.
So but it's fun to do things like that.
Yes. I mean, it becomes second nature. That's my point. Like I've done it so much that even when I used to draw at coffee shops, I would have my business cards ready. So I'd be drawing, and all of a sudden somebody looks on my shoulder. Hey, what are you doing? All of a sudden I'll get a conversation, and boom, here's my card.
Well, I cannot imagine anyone not having a conversation with you, Frankie.
Well, I love it. I love talking to people.
Well, yeah,
that's how I learn. This is how I learn.
Yeah.
This is how would you learn how to be able to your customer base if you're not going to go and talk to people.
Have you ever found your online customer base to be different than face to face? Have you found that they're interested in different aspects of your work?
Sure.
One to another.
Oh yeah. But again, I for me, I've always, when I first started out as an artist, earlier on, I remember I had artists and they were like, well, you should be sticking in this way with your portfolio and blah, blah. And I was like, nah. I said, I remember the first word, I remember looking up in the dictionary too, because I was looking for a word and I said, what can I see? And I said, eclectic. I said, I want an eclectic portfolio. And I found that word and I looked it up in the dictionary and it said very different stuff. And I was like, that's going to be me. I want to draw so much different stuff, such a range that no matter what, I can get a conversation with a person.
Oh, so totally agree.
Animation. I love giant monsters. I love robots, but also I've drawn Strawberry Shortcake. I've also drawn My Little Pony. It's like if you look at my things, I have a range of different things. There shouldn't ever be a hole in the stuff that my work that I've done where I can't have a conversation with someone. That's for me. That's what I did. And I started out early. Now you're talking back when I first left art school and back in the 90s and stuff. I was like, I had a mission, and I said, I don't want to be an artist who has a portfolio that's just one avenue. Sketch cards. I always tell a story about sketch cards.
From going professional for about 10 years, that problem, because when I was at college, they said you shouldn't have more than 3 styles in your portfolio. And it just, I didn't want to get typecast. It just stopped me from doing anything properly. And then one day I thought, I'm just going to do it. And because Facebook, you can have different pages. If I'm worried about mixing the style up, I'll make a new page for that style. And I just started doing that. So, if there's anyone out there thinking, oh, I can't commit to this because I'm not, 100% happy with the style, just like me and Frankie, do bits.
I wish that my art school that I went to is gone. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Butera School of Art. And it was located on Boston off of Beacon Hill. And Beacon Street, excuse me. And it was a small little school. And at the time I had gotten a scholarship, and I got courted by the, what's his name? The Joe Kubert School. for comics. They caught it. They were like, hey, you want to come down and whatever comic books? And I was, because at that time I was like really into comics and stuff and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's in New Jersey though. I was like, I didn't want to leave Massachusetts, and I was very scared of leaving. So then a couple other schools, the design school contacted me, but it was more architectural. And I was like, I don't know, I don't want to be an architect. And then Massachusetts, the School of Mass Art, what we call Mass Art, they contacted me, and I was like, I don't know. And then Butera School of Art contacted me, and I'll never forget going in, and I had some sketches, and they looked at my stuff, and they said, all right. And then they looked at me, the guy looked at me, and he said, I want you to understand that this school is here to help you be a working artist. And I was like, okay. And he said, no, I want you to understand, this isn't a school for starving artists. This is a school for working artists. That means that once you are done with you're gonna be able to survive. When you leave, you're gonna be more of a contractor. He said, think of that term, contractor, so that you get hired to do a service and get paid for it, to take care of yourself. And that level, that form, and that was the start. All my teachers worked in the industry. From some point, they did toys, worked for Parker Brothers covers. They did all kinds of stuff, newspaper, drawings, illustrations, all kind of stuff. And the mentality that they had was like, you bring something to this world as an artist, you can find clients out there. They are out there looking for you to get the job done. And that's what I was taught for 3 years. 3 years went through that. And then finally, when I went off into the world, they were like, fly, little birdie, flew off into the world. And then eventually when I landed, it was just like another stepping stone of just learning from different things. But my whole frame of thought was just like, this is business. Yes, as an artist on my own time, I could have my artist feelings. We all get the joy of art. That never goes away. But also the reality of like, this is a business. Like I want to make a living. Like when I went to school, I was like, I have to make money drawing. That was always in my mind. It was like a mantra, always in my head. I cannot, because before I started school, I did all kinds of jobs, security, landscaping, grocery store. I did everything you could think of. But then once I went through art school, I was like, I have to make money drawing. I have to validate why I went to school.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It was in my head. I said, all these people took the time to train me. I went through this. The other people believed in me. Now I have to make money drawing, regardless of what.
You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time,
Yeah, you get serious. But this is a mental thing, though. This is that mental battle. And I always tell artists out there, you have to begin to look at it as a form of strategy. Just be like, strategize. Sit in your head. Just feel like, I believe in myself. I believe that I can do this. I can make money doing my artwork. I'm going to get it done.
Well, you have to understand that it's a job.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a job.
People love to draw for fun, but if you just draw for fun, just do it as a hobby.
This isn't a hobby for me. I always tell people straight up that this isn't a hobby for me. No. I've made a living from it. I want to continue doing it. And, one day I want to be able to leave a legacy in this world. Me and my wife, we don't have any biological kids. We got a fur baby. But
what baby you got?
Oh, we got a black cat named Shadow.
Yay!
Love my black cats, man.
Cats win.
I would love to have a bat. I love the flying foxes. Those, I love that. I think they're so cute.
Living up on the roof, like under the roof.
I love black cats, man. I feel like black cats have always gotten, any kind of those black animals or anything, have always got a bad rap, man. Oh, they're superstitious.
Oh,
dude,
God, yeah, no.
They're the most loving. She's the most loving thing ever. Shadow. Oh, we love her. Love her. Oh.
I was married to a South African, and I went over there. I couldn't believe how superstitious they were about black cats.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what? Yeah, I know.
Heartbreaking.
No, I love them. I love my black cats, man.
We had one,
but she has a little bell on her though, because because the thing is that she's so dark. When I got her as a kitten, we had one little accident. I couldn't see her because of low light and stuff. And I was like, okay, we learned from that. So we got her a nice little, she had a little bow thing with a little tie, not little tie, but a little thing on her neck with a little bell. So we know where she's at.
Cat's trying to kill me. She just runs in front of my legs constantly.
I know they do that. Oh, drives me nuts.
Sometimes it's very fun. Sorry, Ingrid. Catch out.
No. That's quite all right. I'm reminiscing about our own black cat we had for 18 years. She lived to be.
Oh,
Oh.
I try not to even think. Shadow, I think she's 16.
Oh,
She's 16. So I'm positive energies. She's here forever. Forever.
We're going to have to kind of close the shop a little bit. But to bring it back, first of all, you have to come back on a third time.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Preaching the get out there and do it.
I love this. Yes.
Make sure that Lindsey gets going with her thing, whichever side.
Yes, Lindsey.
But to bring it back to Zoop and Kickstarter, I think the end word is that probably for most people who are new to it, Kickstarter is the way to go.
Kickstarter will be the place to go.
Take a look at Indiegogo, and once you're super famous all over the world, then maybe Zoop is a good place to go to. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would probably be a smart move. Think of this, the brand identity. I think that Kickstarter is a great place to be at if you're just starting out. It's easier. I think you can build up a lot of stuff there. But before you even start any of this crowdfunding stuff, I always suggest to people at least 3 to 6 months. If you're not somebody who's not online a lot or whatever, then give yourself 3 to 6 months of prep time. That means do your research. Really think about what you want to put into your campaign, write it down, I Post-its, write down ideas, jot down ideas. If you have somebody else or friends that you trust, go over it with them, talk to them, speak to them about it, run it through some people and stuff like that. And just to make sure what you like, and then work from there. Look at other campaigns on Kickstarter. That's part of the research. That's another thing. A lot of people, I don't think, do that. Look at what other people are doing. If you're doing a comic book, look at the level of what they're doing and then see. And then, say, hey, if that's working for them, maybe borrow some of those ideas. There's no shame in that.
And if you have things that you have to ship, look into all the options you have to ship.
Yes.
Look into all the options that you have to ship internationally from wherever it is that you happen to be located. And take into account that things happen that can be out of your control, because you do what you can, but once the product has left your premises, there's not much else you can do.
And please don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go out to artists. Like if there's artists, because I've done campaigns with people. What's great is that I've done artwork for reward tiers where you could work out something with the artist, where the artist can get some money as well as some money goes into the campaign. You know what I mean? So say if there's an original piece of artwork, like if I do a sketch card and it's $60, then you can do a 30-30 with the artist. I've done that. With different people. I mean, it's like you can work out ways in which some money can go into it. And the artists who you might be wanting to get, they can benefit as well too. Because I think that it is kind of iffy to try to get people and be like, oh, well, can you do a freebie or whatever? And it's like, that's your dream. It's not their dream. So be strategic. I mean, I see a lot of people out there where I'm like, well, if you probably approach that artist and you say, well, hey, look, I'm doing a Kickstarter. We'd like to get some original artwork. And if you wouldn't mind, then what if we work out something? And then you figure out prices and then find out a way, I find too many people are afraid to talk about money and talk about prices. You can't be afraid to talk about prices.
I still get confused when I have to talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it because the thing about it is at least you can get a sort of gauge. Person may be like, well, hey, I'm fine with getting, if you say if you're going to do a sketch card on there, a sketch card tier, black and white sketch card, $50. And then you say, okay, the person may be okay with getting 25, half or whatever, or maybe even 20. But you'll never know if you don't ask them.
That's true.
Oh, the thing is, they may be okay with that because they'll be like, well, this person, they came to me, they talked to me. I like what they're trying to do. All right, I'm not going to try to hit them with a heavy price or whatever. So that's another thing too. I've learned I'm not afraid to go up to somebody and talk to them about certain things. I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? My teacher once told me, one of our teachers said, teachers once told me, he said, Frank, what's the worst they can do? Say no.
That's a good mantra to actually think of, when you're...
What's the worst thing to say? You go, okay, oh, well, then you go to somebody else then. Yeah. Ingrid knows a ton of artists.
So yeah, and
Yeah,
on that
whatever.
note, we're going to.
With that note, I know. There you go.
We're going to have to close this out. We're coming up to an hour and a half. We've lost people on the yeah.
Let me get those ears back. Give me those ears back.
But we will definitely have you on again. Maybe
yes.
For next year could be how to organize group projects and things like
that. Because
you look like you know a lot about that. So that could be
teamwork, man.
That could be an interesting thing.
There you go. I like that.
Just before you go, because I wasn't present at the last one. Yep. Can you tell me the name of your comic again and just a very quick description of what it's about?
Yeah.
Oh, Kajus and Cowboys. Kajus and Cowboys. It's a story of the last remnants.
First word for me, because I'm not getting.
I'm sorry. I said Kajus, like Kaju.
Kajus.
Yeah, we call it actually the correct term would probably be Kaju, but we made it our own, so we call it Kajus, plural, and Cowboys. And what it is, it's a sci-fi cowboy western kind of story where we're dealing with the last remnants of humanity. They're in this massive ark, go to an alien planet. Guess what? The planet is overrun by these giant kajus, various kajus, not various sizes. And what happens is the last remnants of humanity have these robot hunter bots who go down to the surface to terraform the planet. And the bigger question then comes, is it right or wrong what they're doing? So that's in a nutshell.
All the links will be in the show notes to find this.
So is it right for humanity to come and take something?
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to read the book. You have to read the comic.
Very good. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I like it.
All the links will be as it was in the other one. We'll have all the links in the show to find you. And I want to say a massive thank you again.
Oh, thank you guys. I enjoyed it so much.
And again, we'll have you back. We'll talk about organizing group projects and things like that.
Yes.
Which I think could be cool. We may have to try one just to,
Yes. Hey, I'm down with that. I'm down with doing a group project.
I'm up for it. Down for it.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Lindsey, do you have anything else to say?
Sorry?
Do you have anything else you'd like to ask?
I'm just being happy over
I'm probably gonna bust my Rasta hat next time. So you guys got your baseball caps. I have my Rasta hat on. I have the dreads all out. Yeah. Next time I'll wear it. You gotta remind me. Let me say, Frank, you said you're gonna put that Rasta hat on. All right, I'll put my Rasta cap on. There you go. Right on.
Okay, thank you again, Frankie.
Thank you so much. Oh, ladies, take care now. Keep that art flowing.